Good afternoon, and welcome to Breaking the Consensus, the webinar that talks to people right around the world that have a different story to tell, one that you won't necessarily hear from your mainstream media. Today, we welcome Father Moses Idris, all the way from Nigeria, who has an amazing story to tell, particularly if you're interested in the Catholic faith. Good morning, Father Idris, or good afternoon, rather.
Good afternoon from here.
Father, can you give us a description of where you are? It's the town you're from, isn't it? Where you are now.
Presently, I am in Okari, a local government in Taraba State, where my diocese is situated, the Diocese of Okari.
Okay, yeah. And this you are in the north of Nigeria.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and this is predominantly Muslim. It's predominantly Islamic or Pentecostal.
Yeah, the northern part of Nigeria is predominantly Muslim, actually. But
yes.
This side where I am now, it's a mixture, both Muslims and Christians, particularly Pentecostals. The Catholics are not in their numbers that much.
Okay. Now, the fascinating thing about your tale is you are born into a Muslim family. And tell us your story. Tell us how you started out. You told me last night that at 7, you were, because education, it's not affordable, it's not a big deal, you were out working at 7.
Okay, growing up as a kid at 7, just as I said yesterday, I'm used to hawking for my mom because I am of a polygamous family of 23 children. I am.
Say that again.
23 children of my father. We are left 19 now alive. I am the last of my mother, who is a second wife, with 11 children. But now we are left 8 of us, 5 boys, 3 girls.
I'm sorry.
So I am the last of my mom.
You're the youngest child of your mother. You had 11 siblings from her side, and then another 8, 9, 10, 12 half siblings in the family.
From 2 other women. Yeah. He was married to 3 women. Yeah.
So your father had 3 wives.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're hawking, and that means you were selling what your mother made.
Yes. Sometimes it could be fruits. Sometimes it could be other cakes, like whatever she made and gave it to me to go sell. I go out to sell. So on this particular one that led to who I am today was bread. We had a bakery close to our house, so I normally go there to buy bread and then come and tie it and then walk around. So we have this particular market where cattle are being sold. So we have Fulani people. There are people who call Fulanis. So they bring their cow there.
They're the herdsmen. They're the herdsmen, aren't they? There.
The herdsmen,
so you go down to where you'd go down to where the Fulani were selling the cattle and sell them bread.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So the Fulani people love bread so much. So normally I take my bread to that place to sell. But in passing to the place, you must pass the Catholic Church in my village. That is in Mararaba, in Donga local government area of Taraba State, not too far from here, just 2 hours away from here.
Okay, so, you see, that gives us, I'm going to stop here because that gives us some sense of the size of Nigeria. It's not too far away. It's just 2 hours. You know, you'd cross most of Ireland in 2 hours.
It wouldn't have been up to that if the road were very, very good. But because of the bad nature of the road, we calculate by hours of moving and not by kilometers.
Rather than road, yes, I understand. Yeah.
All right. So, as I was saying, I was hawking bread when I was passing along the church to go to my usual business place. A boy beckoned on me to bring bread. So, and I went there to sell bread, and I made a very good sale that day. So the church became more like a business place for me. Every Sunday before passing, I would branch in to sell my bread, then go over to where I was going to. Until this particular day, I got there and discovered that no one was there. I met the absence unknown to me that they had adjusted the time for the mass. So I decided to like, let me just peep inside and see how these people's mosque looks like, you know.
You had never been inside?
No, I've never been inside there.
Yes.
So I dropped my bread by the corridor of the church, then peeped into the church through the window, and it was magnificently dressed and decorated. So moved by that, I wanted to have a better glimpse of what was in there. So
yes.
I dropped my bread and then went into the church and sat down by the pew. I was, admiring, wondering the man that was on top of the tree, which is Jesus Christ, the crucifix, that was so big on the altar. I was just wondering why they are punishing the man there and they kind of, and mind you, I was just 14 then.
Yes.
Yeah, I was 14. So at some point I sat down by the pew where I dozed off, and until someone came and woke me up. And by the time I woke up, I realized that the church was already packed full. So filled with fear, I wanted to run away because as a Muslim, we are not used to having Christians enter our mosque. So I thought it was the same thing. So I wanted to run out of the church until the woman said, no, don't worry. I said, my bread. Somebody is going to steal my bread. She said, no, don't worry. That someone is already taking care of your bread. I went outside and discovered actually the woman that was taking care of the children in Sunday school was taking care of my bread. So, and I came back into the church and enjoyed the liturgy. It was more like an entertainment for me.
Yes.
So, because women, men, everybody was dancing. It wasn't the same thing with ours. You can't just go to the mosque with women and men together dancing in the mosque. So, it was exciting and entertaining to me. So the next Sunday,
yes, the Nigerian liturgy is very exuberant.
Oh yeah,
very joyful.
Yeah. So the next Sunday, I came, I did same, kept the bread, went into the church, and sat down. That was how I continued, and until I was beginning to, and then I couldn't speak English. I couldn't even read. So I wasn't really understanding what they were saying, but all I know is that there was music and things were happening. So, and I loved what was happening. So that was how I kept coming until I later discovered that children were coming in the evening. So I started bringing my bread again in the evening. Unknown to me that that was catechism class they were having. So before I knew it, I was already joining them to say, who made you? God made me. Why did God make you? A kind of. So I got engrossed, and I think 2 months later, my parents got to discover that I was now not just selling bread, but I was fully participating
in the Christian. You were going to catechism class. We appeared briefly to have, I hope it's briefly, to have lost Father Moses. We're working over an internet connection, and he's in northern Nigeria. I think we're coming back there. We lost we lost you for a brief second there. I'm so sorry. You had just said that your parents discover 2 months later, your parents discover you're participating in the church, you're going to catechism class. Were they outraged?
Yeah, when my parents discovered that I was going to the church, so that was when my persecution started.
Yes.
Yeah. So trying to stop me at that point was becoming a bit difficult because I was already getting used to the whole thing. And then I had even joined the Catholic Charismatic Renewal. So I had joined them, yes. So I was already learning how to pray in English and beginning to enjoy the whole thing. Then the beating, the restrictions and other things came up. Yeah, I think this is what I can say about it.
You were punished?
Severely, severally.
Yeah. That's hard for a 14-year-old boy. I mean, most 14-year-old boys would simply have walked away at that stage, I think. They're being beaten and punished and starved. they would tend to stop. But you didn't.
Can you be a bit audible? I'm not getting it too well.
Yeah. So you didn't stop, you continued on. And what did your parents do? I mean, did there come a point where they stopped punishing you, or did the punishments get more severe?
It got more severe until my dad threw me out of the house.
Wow.
At some point in my life, I was given two options. There was a particular evening that I was going to the church and they sent some young men to go get me. So they
Wow.
brought me home, and gave me an option.
Yes.
It's either you come back to Islam or we'll kill you. That was the two options that I was given. And I was locked up in a room. So I was in that room wondering my fate until luckily it was about to rain. So the weather became very, very breezy. So they all ran into the room. And unfortunately for them, the pen was on. Yeah, I can't read it. Sorry for that, please.
No, it's...
Unfortunately for them, the window, the window was right inside. So my mind never even went there. But the breeze, blew off the window and it hit to the wall from behind. So I got to know that the window was open. That was how I escaped from the window. But
the wind blew in the window.
Yeah, through the window, yeah. So after 3 to 4 weeks, I think, they got to discover that I was there. I was in the parish house. So they came looking for me, and unfortunately for me, the parish priest had traveled. So I was alone in the parish house. So later in the evening, with some parish council, they took me on and we went to my father's house. I returned back home until one particular evening, one of our neighbor who happens to be a lawyer gave my father an offer that if my father permits him, he could take me to a juvenile prison where I would be punished severely. Probably that punishment could make me to want to come back to Islam again. Then I was not yet baptized. I was already getting closer to my baptism, So my dad said, no, let him try his best and see if I would succumb. So he was still trying his best when the thing could not happen. At some point, my mother stopped giving me food. So it was that bread that I was selling. Some members of the church gave me capital. I went and bought the bread and continued selling. So that was how I was feeding myself. At some point, then they threw me out of the house. I was living with an Igbo man, somebody, a Christian, though not a Catholic. So later on, the person was to be sued, to court for keeping me. So when I got a hint, So when I got a hint about it, I decided to go back home again.
Wow.
So when I went back home, it wasn't funny. No one could even talk to me. My elderly ones, no one was talking to me. My mother was not speaking to me. My dad was not talking to me. It was not funny.
No.
Until one night, I think then I was already baptized, yes. When I was finally thrown out of my father's house, I had already just been baptized. That was in 2005.
Yes.
So after the baptism, then one evening I was not feeling too well, but no one really cared.
Yeah.
So I got a traditional herb, we call it herbs here. So I was taking care of myself with that, and in the evening it rained. So my dad came and asked me to get out of his room. He threw my bag inside the rain,
Out into the rain. I mean, your rain is ferocious. I mean, it's nothing like Irish rain. It comes down in a torrent.
Oh yeah, it was very serious, raining and thundering and the rest of it. So inside the rain, I came out and it wasn't funny. So I decided to pick the bag, look for somewhere. I kept it. I entered the rain. I went to see, we call them our godfather. my sponsor in the baptism.
Yes.
So I went and saw him. I told him this is a situation with me this night, and I don't know where I'm going to. So he asked me to go get my bag.
Yeah.
So I went and got my bag inside the rain and came back, and that was how I left my parents' house.
Thrown out into the rain.
Yeah, from there, nobody came to search for me. Nobody cared to ask after me. But I was no longer going out anyhow because even my neighbors, the people around us, my life was no longer safe. So I wasn't moving out anyhow until.
Now, just to clarify for our audience, when you say your neighbors were no longer safe.
No, I mean, I was no longer safe because the persecution was not just coming from my family alone, even the neighbors, our neighbors, the Muslims around, my friends deserted me. No one wanted to identify with me. I became more like a plague, you know.
You became like a plague. It is effectively a death sentence, isn't it? You can be killed.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So when it got to that level,
I want to stop the story just here for a second, because I just want to explore. You must have been aware that this would be the reaction. You know what the rule is. To leave Islam, apostasy is death. And yet, you joined the catechism class, you stayed going. What did you see? What was it that made you want to keep going in the face of that threat?
Actually, one thing that kept me going was the fact that for me as a person, I had realized at that stage that truly in Christianity, I have found what I wanted. And another thing again was the care that I was getting from Christians.
Yes.
They never left me alone. They were always there supporting me, and that kept me going. And with my faith that I had developed through the charismatic renewal, I became more convinced about the existence of God in Christianity, and I was fine with it.
Yeah. So you were willing to take those risks. You were willing to risk death.
At that point, I felt within me that even if I die at that stage, I was dying in a stage of grace.
Yeah.
So I felt I was spiritually, morally, and every other thing ready to die. And I felt it was going to be a blessing to me to die at that stage, because I felt if I die, I am dying in the right place.
In the right place, in the right way.
Oh, yeah.
That's immense faith and immense courage. Now, I interrupted you because I wanted to clarify that for our listeners. Now, this gentleman tells you, get your bag. You've nowhere else to go anyway. So what does he do? Does he take you in?
Yeah, he took me in. I was living with him in his father's house.
Yes.
And the problem escalated. He was to be sued again. So that was when my parish priest had to work in hand for them to see how they could take me to the minor seminary for my security. So that was how I got my way into the minor seminary. Though I was already in what we call here in Nigeria, JSS2. So I went to the minor seminary. I had to start all over again. So that was where I got to meet my bishop, Bishop Mark. He was the rector in the minor seminary then.
Now, just for a second, I don't think we don't have anything really that corresponds to a minor seminary. We don't have those here.
Okay, junior seminary.
Junior seminary, we wouldn't have those. You either, in fact, in all fairness, the way Ireland is gone, there's only one seminary in the country. So, but we don't have a junior seminary. What is a junior seminary?
Okay, a junior seminary here, normally we call the institute where priests are trained. We call it seminary.
Yes.
So, yeah, we have what is called here in Nigeria secondary school. I don't know what you call it over there. Is it high school or something? I don't know.
Yeah, we'd have a secondary school. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's just equal to secondary school.
Yes.
But we call it junior seminary. The way you go over to proceed to become a priest, you now go to the major seminary. That's what we call it here.
Yes, yes. And would many of the boys that go across to the major seminary? You know, would it be a high proportion? See, if you go to a junior seminary, is it a given that you go on to the major seminary?
Well, the decision is yours. You decide either to go to the major seminary or not
Yeah.
to. It's just
Yeah.
like any other secondary school. But this one is a boarding where we are trained, you know, with the aim
Yes.
of either becoming a priest or becoming a very responsible person out there.
Okay, that's cool. So you're sent to the minor seminary, the junior seminary, and as you said, you you had no education. So now you have to
Yes, then
start
I couldn't
all over
read.
again. Yeah.
I couldn't read. It was while I was in the minor seminary that they organized extramural lessons for me to be
Yes.
able to meet up, to catch up.
Yeah.
So, and whenever the students are on holidays, I don't go anywhere. I was remaining in the school there
Yeah.
to continue with lessons for me to be able to learn how to read. So
Yeah.
before I could get done with my JSS1, I could read.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
well done. That was tough going. Of course, you had nowhere to go. You couldn't go home. You
No,
wouldn't be safe. Yeah.
no. Since then, I've never gone home to stay or to sleep or anything until
You've
after
never
my
been
ordination.
home.
I was able to like visit just to greet them and leave.
Yeah. And do they talk to you now?
Oh yeah, now we do,
Yeah.
but not that cordial, you know, because the
Yeah.
relationship is already lost. How
Yes.
many years back? Yeah.
Yeah. Now you go then, you finish in junior seminary. What age were you when you finished in the junior seminary?
Well, I went to the junior seminary at 16.
Yes.
16, so 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I was probably 22 when I finished from the junior seminary.
And you went straight across then to the attached major seminary there.
Oh yeah, the same year I got admission to the major seminary.
Now, I have a question because there's a glaring obvious question. At what point did you know you didn't just want to be a Christian, you wanted to be a priest? When did you feel that vocation?
Okay, I felt about this vocation when I was in the minor seminary.
Yes.
There was this particular night I had a dream where I saw myself in a castle.
Yes.
Yeah,
You saw it in your head.
Yes, I had a dream. I was in
Yeah.
a castle that had a cape that was flying, and I was
Yes.
standing beside a beach. You know, I was praying and moving around beside
Yeah.
the beach, and the breeze was just blowing the cave. You know, I love it. So when I woke up from the dream, I was like, God, if you are the one calling me, let it come to reality. And
Yeah.
I was so happy. So from then, I was always this kind of a prayerful person anyway. I don't joke with my prayer life, yeah. So from there, I felt the priesthood could afford me the opportunity that I need to pray the
Yes.
way I want. And I pursued it up until I went for the exam after my WAEC. Then
Yeah.
I was given the admission, and then I proceeded to the major seminary.
Yeah. So was your bishop, were they supportive? I mean, it can't have been easy. You know, you had no outside support, you had no outside help unless the Christians provided it. Was there help? Did you get help? I mean, did the Christians help you when you're in the seminary? It's not easy because holidays come, you know, you had no money, you had no resources, you had no parents helping you.
Yeah.
That must have been really hard.
It wasn't really easy, but because my present bishop was the rector of the school then.
Yes.
So normally what he does, any holidays that he knows he's not going to be around, he will assign me to some families to go and spend the holidays with them. Yes.
Oh, that's a
So I'll
lovely
go
tradition.
spend the holidays. If I'm returning back to school, if he comes back, then I will come back before the students resume. So that was how my life was until I finished the seminary.
Yeah. And you were ordained.
Yeah.
That must have been a joyful day.
It was greatly.
Yeah.
It was.
To reach that point. So where are you ministering now? What's your community like, your parish?
Presently, as I told you, I just got back from Egypt. I have not yet been appointed to a parish yet.
Yes.
So So I've been on holidays, just been moving around for conferences and directing retreats in parishes. So
Yes.
I'm hoping that by January, I will know my next line of action. But for now,
A
I'm
break
still a
is good.
vagus. I'm still a
A break
vagus.
is good. Yeah. Now, in the wider context, Nigeria has a terrorism problem, largely from the Fulani people to whom you sold bread, the herdsmen. People join from there. They join Boko Haram and other groups. Is that a problem in your area where you are now?
Where I am here, we don't have much problem of that here,
Okay.
but we have intertribal clashes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What can be done? Why do young men join groups like Boko Haram?
For me, growing up as a Muslim, what I can say that could warrant young men to join such a group. If you check very well, you will see that the group of people that are into this, none of them, or they are not educated.
Yes.
There is a system here in Nigeria called Al-Majri. Al-Majri is an Islamic word. I can't really remember the meaning, but it's a system where you give birth to children at teenage or a younger age, some
Yes.
7 years, 8, 9. You send them to
Yes.
go stay with a supposed teacher who gathers them,
Yes.
and these children are
Yes.
feeding by begging. So they don't have parental love. They don't have this parental care. No one is there for them. If you see them tattered, I can even get some pictures of some of them and send it to you.
Yeah.
So when a child grows up without parental love,
Yeah.
he doesn't really care if any other human being is alive or living.
Yeah. These are effectively abandoned boys.
Oh, kind of. So most of them, when
Yeah.
they are given little token to exhibit any bad thing, they go right in and exhibit it. And then sometimes it's religious fanaticism, because most of them are Muslims, So I wouldn't
start off with anyway.
know if the right word is that they are indoctrinated or something, but I can't tell. But they have these what I call it, these vibes in them, that anything that have to do with the religion, one is out to fight, commit other bad, evil things in the name of the religion.
Yeah. And Islam teaches them that they should fight for their religion. Their job is to conquer, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, that's part of the teaching anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So probably stemming from there, they are escalating it to other level. But as usual, Muslims will keep telling you, or Muslims will keep telling you, our religion is a religion of peace. Our religion is a move of peace. Well, it is, but it does not. What happens does not really appear as though it is.
It effectively seems to be only the religion of peace where it gets its own way completely.
Kind of.
And
if it doesn't, it isn't.
How is the government doing enough to deal with the terrorism and radicalization problem? Is there enough protection for northern Nigerian Christians?
You see, this particular question that have to do with what the government are doing. If you come up to say they are not doing anything, they will tell you they are doing something. But we that are here cannot feel the impact of their doings.
The something isn't enough.
We can't feel it. Do you know that my first place of appointment as a priest, shortly after my ordination, I was transferred after 1 month, 3 weeks, because I was getting letters. I was getting calls and text messages from unknown people who would describe my room, describe things about me, tell me they are going to come for me. Yes. So as a result of that, the bishop had to transfer me from that place to Wukari. So myself, I have been trading with caution. especially in Nigeria, because I don't know who is following me. Definitely, it's not everybody that is happy for who I am and for the things I do.
They knew they knew where you were, what you were doing. They could, these were people who were clearly watching you. And if they're watching you, if they're that close, they can kidnap.
They can, seriously, they can. So there has been so many cases of kidnap. There is nothing that the government is doing about it. So for me, the government are not yet doing enough. They are not. Like I was telling someone in Egypt, I said, even if I was killed in Egypt, the president of Nigeria will not even do anything about it. Highest they will go to.
Now, because I had completely missed that, I am so sorry. You went to Egypt to study.
Yeah.
And you got the same trouble there, in a sense, but worse probably, because Egypt is a long way away from Nigeria.
Yes. And when you want to talk about Islamic intolerance, I think Egypt is even more than Nigeria in that aspect. So, though I got the signal on time.
Yes.
Yes, I got the signal on time, because if not so, even right in the metro, I could be adopted, and that would have been the end of it.
Yes.
So if you Google my name, you will see that my story and everything about me is all over there in the social media. So it was easy for them to get to know who I am. Yeah. So I don't want to go into details for the sake of the screen, but it wasn't too safe for me to an extent. And
so tell us about Egypt. You go to Egypt to study. Was this with the Coptic Church in Egypt?
Now we have a Latin rights there.
Yeah.
I spent only 2 weeks in Egypt, so and the whole thing ensued. So I had no option than to run for my dear life. So
tell us what happened. Remember, our audience doesn't know. So tell us what happened. You're in Egypt. Where are you staying? You're staying in a college?
No, I was staying in Sakakini, a parish there.
Yes.
I can't remember the name of the parish now. I was staying in Sakakini.
That's okay. Yeah.
And one of the Combonian fathers parish. So I was moving from there to go to school. There was not any physical attack towards me, but there were other things that were beginning to happen that were not normal.
Yes. Yeah. You knew that they knew. Our internet is frozen again, but that's live television in a sense. Father Idris is in northern Nigeria and I'm in Kilkenny, so we can expect, with the best will in the world, there will be glitches. Right. You're back to us, I think. Yes, you're back. We lost you again for a second. Yeah. Sorry about that.
All right. Yeah. Where did I stop?
You said that things were happening. You're in Egypt, you're in a parish and you're going to school, and you said things were happening.
Oh yeah, there were so many abnormals that were happening to me that was not happening to my other colleagues that we went together from Nigeria. And when we run some research, we discovered that there were other ground movements.
Yeah, the police were onto you.
Around me, yes.
Yeah. So for your life,
and,
you had to go.
For my life, for my life. So the director of the school was even saying, had he known that I was a convert, he would have suggested me to go to another country to study and not in Egypt.
Egypt.
Yeah. So
I just want to remind our audience that Egypt is seen as a moderately Islamic country. And yet Father Idris was being pursued by the police in Egypt for being a convert.
Well, I don't want you to put it that way anyway, because there was not any physical verification that they were pursuing me.
Yeah.
Ahead. But there were other things that were happening around, which, for the sake of screen and the future, I wouldn't want to mention some things here. Yeah. So, for some of those things led to my return through the
So you,
recommendation that was given to my bishop, which I don't know what was recommended to him, but he asked me to come back, and in obedience, I came back.
So 2 weeks later, you leave Egypt back to Nigeria. Did you go to any other country after that? You didn't go anywhere? Not yet.
Not yet. I was looking forward to going to another country, but as a priest, I am all to my bishop. Whatever he says is what I will do.
Father Idris, what can we in Ireland do to support and help Nigerian Catholics, priests like you? What can we do?
Well, for me, giving me opportunity, I wouldn't want to be living in fear.
Yes.
Are you there? Yeah. I wouldn't want to be living in fear. However, I don't have a saying of my own. If there is any way anyone can help, maybe you come through my bishop. My bishop have the final say. But I can't, if I have opportunity, I will still want to go out there. Yeah. I will still want to go out there, probably a different country to study, to learn other life, to grow and to preach Christ anywhere I go to. Like, I am proudly a Christian, proudly a Catholic, and proudly a Catholic priest. So anywhere I go to, I'm ready to convert souls. So if there is anything you guys can help me to, give me opportunity to help and convert soul and do the work as a priest, that's fine. I'm not looking for anything. I don't have wife, I don't have children, so I'm just looking for a platform to do the work.
Father Idris,
all that I need to do the work. Sorry?
This has been an extraordinary interview. Your faith is almost frightening. You're an amazing man. And thank you for talking to our audience today. I hope we get to do this again. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. I'm always available. Yeah.